Okay guys, we've been brining our pork bellies for smoked bacon. They've been brining for 7 days. I got 5 pork bellies that are brined in a dry rub, a dry brine, right? And then vacuum sealed. And what'll happen is it'll suck some of the moisture out of the pork bellies when you're dry cure brining like that, right? Over 7 days. So if you look at them here, right, they look like they've got quite a bit of moisture in there. But when the brine went on both sides of the pork belly, it's completely dry, with the exception of these are maple flavor for the bacon. So there was some authentic Canadian maple syrup in with the dry rub, the dry brine, right, and coated. But yeah, you're going to get a little moisture after 7 days because that sugar and salt brine is going to bring out the moisture of the pork belly. So don't be concerned about that. And as a matter of fact, when you're putting your dry brine on, whether or not you're using any liquid at all like maple syrup, let's just say you're using 100% dry ingredients in rubbing it, you still don't have to worry too much about 100% coverage, edges and sides, because when you vacuum seal them and put them in the refrigerator for 7 days and turn them at least every day, I turn them like twice a day, and I also massage them a little bit, right? Even if you don't have any liquid, the salt and sugar brine dry ingredients is going to suck the moisture out of the pork belly. So you're going to end up with a little liquid. This liquid in here is not just strictly because I use maple syrup on these, all right? So what you want to do is, I mean, they're ice cold, right? Ice cold for 7 days. So what I want to do actually is go ahead and rinse all these. I'll take them to the kitchen and rinse them thoroughly, because I've also got black peppercorns and bay leaves and some other spices, right? I want to rinse all that off. But the main reason for rinsing is you want to get rid of that sugar and salt. There's heavy concentrated salt and sugar, right? Kosher salt is what I use, very coarse kosher salt. And of course that all dissolves, you can't even see any salt in there. But you want to rinse all of that off, right, before you smoke. So that's a key thing. So I use a brand new sterilized box blade. Makes it so much easier. I'm just going to put all these in a tub. So I'm going to go ahead and take all of these to the kitchen sink, rinse them thoroughly. I don't have to show you that process because I'm pretty sure you know how to rinse the meat, right? And then we'll come back here and I've got hams and one pork belly that I'm going to make bacon out of that is in the wet brine cure, right? No maple syrup, anything like that. It's got the same brine ingredients as the ham. So I wanted to do one pork belly with a wet brine cure and compare it to the dry cured bacon when it's all said and done. All right, I'm gonna go rinse these. Stay tuned. Okay guys, got them all rinsed off there. Now as far as the ingredients for a dry cure brine for pork belly that you're going to smoke and make into bacon, where you can fry up your bacon, you can also cut it thin on a slicer for bacon. You can also cut it in chunks and fry it up in chunks and use it in salads and all kinds of different recipes. So you don't have to slice it all for like breakfast bacon. Up to you once you finish smoking it. But the dry ingredients, you can find all kinds of recipes online. We don't give out our specific recipes because we do this for ourselves, for friends, and for sale. So we have a business interest here on our unique flavors and unique recipes. We don't give all that away, but you can just search for dry brine for pork belly, bacon, hams, different things, right? Now what a lot of the guys that'll tell you that do this stuff, is after you've rinsed them off, let's take a look at them there. I'm pretty much done with the knife for the moment. Very good idea to keep a box blade knife with a sanitary razor blade, right? Way you can always, you know, dispose of the blade and start anew. But okay, so let's look at them after they're completely rinsed, right? And I try not to use big, huge, right? When I bought these from the local macro here, it's a big pork belly, right? You just want to cut them and make sure you're cutting, you know, long ways where you're going to have the bacon strips when you're done, right? But now they're completely rinsed. A lot of guys will tell you, okay, all you need to do is pat these with a paper towel, get that moisture off, right? And then you're ready to smoke. Well, I mean, you can do that, but me, I want the skin to change, what we call aged. Now, normally you wouldn't age pork, right? You age beef because beef is red meat. You can eat it raw, right? You can't eat pork raw, right? So why would you age a piece of pork? Well, this is cured already, remember, right? It's already been cured for 7 days. So we don't have to worry about bacteria, but we want to let it dry in the refrigerator, right? Like I said, for 12 hours. You can, you know, pat it dry a little bit if you want, but it's going to dry. So we're going to put it up on a rack, right? Above a pan, so the pan will catch the drippings, right? The blood and whatnot. But yeah, to me, if you really want to smoke bacon, and you've done all this work, you've made your dry rub, you've gotten your bags, you've got your pork belly cut the way you want it, you rub them all down, you put them in your bags, you vacuum seal them, you put them in the refrigerator 7 days, flipping and flopping them and massaging them around. You've done all this work, why not go ahead at the tail end of that 7 days and add another 12 hours and let this stuff dry. Now my refrigerator is extremely cold, right? Extremely cold. But uncovered like this is you're not going to have any problems with any bacteria or anything developing for 12 hours, right? It's not going to happen. You don't have to worry about your pork going bad. But what is going to happen is it's going to allow it the air to circulate. It's going to get nice and dry on the skins inside there, uncovered, right? All right, so let's do that on all of them. You know what I'm saying? So, again, with the paper towel thing, up to you. I mean, it's not a bad idea, but skipping this step of 12 hours, and I mean, you could let them set in the fridge for 5 hours. I mean, up to you. But skipping that step of letting that pinnacle develop on the outside of the skin by letting it sit in a cold, open air environment, to me is a mistake. Okay, it's just a mistake. I wouldn't just pat them dry, right out of the brine, and throw them on the smoker. Not that you can't, and not that they wouldn't be good. I'm sure they are. But this little step will just give you that much more flavor, because when that skin develops that pinnacle, that allows the smoke, and we're going to use real wood fire smoke, that allows that smoke to really absorb into the layer of the skin. Now the main thing when I rinsed them, I really rinsed them very well, is to get all the salt and sugar off, right? You don't want it real salty, and the sugar's brown sugar, right? But that's the main thing. You just rinse them really good. You still see a little spice, a little black pepper on them, a little stuff. That's okay, don't worry about that. You rinse them thoroughly, right? Rinse them thoroughly. Okay, there we go. I also have some additional shelves like this that you can just put your meat directly on the refrigerator shelves, right? I've got 2 more of these. So now I'm going to do the hams, and I've got 1 pork belly in the wet brine too. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take them out and we're going to rinse them. All right, but there you go, guys. There's the pork bellies after they've been soaked in the dry brine for 7 days, and now they're just killing time in the open air, uncovered. Very cold. Not frozen, but very cold. Okay, guys, we got all the dry brined pork bellies situated really good on dry racks with drip pans to catch any blood or anything that drips, right? So we're going to go ahead. This has been closed for 7 days. You never have to open it if you make sure all of your ham and pork butts, not hams yet, and whatever else you're doing. I'm doing one pork belly, so I'm going to do one slab of bacon that's going to be wet brine, right? Just want to make sure that all those are submerged completely and they can't come to the surface. So you don't have to stir them, you don't have to open it, you don't have to do anything. They've been sitting there just like this in a sealed food grade bucket for 7 days. 7 days. Reminds me of the Ring movie. Alright. Now you can see there was no possible way for them to become unsubmerged. And what I do is I use a heavy glass bowl and I let it fill up with brine, right? Now this is a wet brine, which you can get the ingredients online again. Main ingredients are kosher salt, brown sugar, molasses, and prog powder. You know, number one pink curing salt. That's the main 3 ingredients, right? I also use a pickling spice. There's recipes you can get for a pickling spice. See, now there was a plate upside down on top of the meat with a bowl of brine on top of the plate. So there was no way during that 7 days that any of this meat could have unsubmerged itself. What do we got on top? We got a pork belly. It'll be a big old slab of bacon right there, right? Just like the other dry brine, we're going to want to rinse all this out. And here we go with our hams. I cut these butts up into, like I say, I like to use reasonable sizes. You know what I mean? There's your pickling spice and stuff like that on it, right? I don't like to use the giant hams. It's a lot easier to vacuum seal a ham if it's not too oversized, right? So this is all of our wet brine. I've got 1 ham here. I forget how many I did. 2 hams. 3 hams. I think that might be it. It's about enough. 3 hams with the pork belly that was in there. Yeah, that's it. Now, that stuff is ice cold, right? But do not, and I repeat, do not reuse your wet brine. That's it, okay? Finished. You know, with all that meat in there, it was about as full as I could get in 1 bucket. Now, I could have done 2 buckets of brine and twice as many hams if I wanted to brine more ham at one time, or more bacon at one time, or you can do all kinds of meats in a wet brine, right? But remember, don't try to reuse it. That's it. It's done. 86 it. That is gone. All right, so now I'm going to take all this stuff and go rinse it off like we did our pork bellies in the dry brine. Go rinse them off and bring them back out here. Okay guys, these hams are thoroughly rinsed off. I mean, I rinsed them really, really well. The main objective is to get the salt and the brown sugar and the curing salt off of there, right? You don't want a salty ham, so that's the main thing. Now, anything you put in a wet brine, whether it be pork or chicken or, you know, different styles of meats, you wet brine it, it is a good idea, after you get them rinsed, to go ahead and soak them in some clean, potable water, right? Don't use tap water, because this is just going to give it extra time to draw out that salt, right? Because when you do a wet brine, there's a large amount of salt in combination with brown sugar, right? And like I said, I use molasses and some other ingredients. Up to you on a wet brine. People use lemon or oranges, or I mean, you can put anything you want in a wet brine. But main ingredients: kosher salt, brown sugar, molasses. Some people use apple cider, but you got to have the curing salt, right? So we're talking about a real salty water. So now I'm gonna let this set, and I'll turn them over a little bit as I go. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna let it set about 20 minutes, and that's just gonna give us additional time for this fresh, clean, potable water with some ice. Maintain temperature control, right? I don't want them getting warm or anything yet. Until we get to the smoker, I want to keep them nice and cold. So some fresh ice water here, 20 minutes, that'll draw the remainder of the saltiness, which is the main thing that you would taste, would be the saltiness out of that meat. And then we'll go to the dry racks in the fridge. Okay guys, they've been soaking in that clean, potable, cold ice water for 20 minutes. You can see the water color has changed a little bit. It looks a little bit like our brining water, right? Not as dark as the brine. So we did soak out some more salty brine. We're going to lay it over here on a dry rack. That rack and pan catch the water. Dry off pretty good here for a minute before we stick it in the fridge. They're nice and ice cold right now. So this is one slab of bacon that I did a wet brine on versus a dry brine. All right, so I'll let those dry here on this rack for a minute. Some of the water off, and then we've got our racks ready to go in the refrigerator. Just stick them right in there and got a drip pan underneath. All right, so that'll be the last step for tonight. Everything will be on a dry rack in the refrigerator, nice cold temperature. And in the morning, after I have my coffee, I'll be firing up the smoker. Smoke all this stuff at one time. Stay tuned. All right guys, I just let them sit here on the dry rack about 5 minutes, get the bulk of the water dripped off of them, right? And again, the paper towel thing's not a bad idea if you want to go ahead and dab them a little bit, right? Dry them a little bit more, but again, we're going overnight, no cover, in the fridge, right? Get them in there. All right, can't really see too good. I got my headlight on there so you can see a little better, right? Pork bellies drying. I got my ribs up there. Put a couple of bowls for a gap. Keep them up off the ribs. Improvise. Knees. We're just going straight on these racks. We got a drip pan down below. Okay. I think we're in pretty good shape, right? We got a drip pan here, a drip pan here, and another drip pan on the bottom. So that's it. Overnight, guys, let it sit overnight, 10, 12 hours, anywhere in that neighborhood. Just like that, uncovered. And that skin will have a nice, we'll look at it in the morning before we bring them out on the smoker. We'll look at them. You can see the skin now. You can see the meat, kind of a darker red, right? Because of the cure. Really changes color. But look closely at the skin now, right? So you can see exactly what that skin looks like. Now this is the pork belly that was in the wet brine, right? Here's the hams that was in the wet brine, right? So in the morning, before we put them on the smoker, we'll do this again and look at that skin, and you can see the changes after it sets for 12 hours. Uncovered, right? Now these are the pork bellies that were dry cured brined. You can see skins on those. Right? Now another thing I forgot to mention is you do need to take the skins off. Now I like to brine with the skins on because I love me some chicharrones, some fried pork skins. So I really want my skins to be cure brine too, right? They're gonna have a little fat, a little meat on them, right? So don't forget to take your skins off. I take them off after the pork bellies have been cured. Now you don't need to do this on the hams. This is the belly skin, right? Excellent fried chicharrones, right? Fried crispy pork skins. So, you know, they're cured out. They've got the cure, and it doesn't prevent the cure from soaking in to the rest of the pork belly. You know what I mean? Because again, that brine was for 12 hours in vacuum sealed bags, right? And constantly flipping them. So yeah, take your skins off before you smoke them. That's what you call a nice bag of pork skins. A little fat on there, a little meat on some of it, you know what I mean? So yeah, we'll fry those up. Fry those bad boys up, stick them in the fridge for a while. Well, guys, it's 5:30 a.m. the next morning, and we are prepping the smoker. I like to get it really, really hot, much hotter than what I'm actually going to smoke at, because sanitizes the grill, right? And if I bring the temperature way up, say 400 degrees Fahrenheit, then I can close everything down, cut the air off to the fire, add my smoking wood, use my damper. I can control the fire and keep it down low under 200 degrees Fahrenheit when I start with a hot fire, and just cut the air off and keep it regulated on the low, kind of a cold smoke temperature that I want, which is no more than 200 Fahrenheit down to 150 for the bacon, the ham, and the ribs. So we're going to do it all together. Okay, guys, when it comes to this stage of the process of smoking pork meats, there really is no right or wrong at this point. The right or wrong definitely applies when you are doing the cure mixture, right? The prog powder, #1, pink salt cure, right, has to be measured correctly. Your salt and sugar has to be measured correctly. In the wet brine with the hams and stuff, you've got to use your pickling spice, different things that are common in a wet brine, right? So there's a lot of right and wrong in the early stages, because you want to make sure that your meats are cured properly before you smoke them. But at this stage, look, I'm from Kansas City. My family originates from an area called Rosedale on the Kansas side of the border, Kansas City, Kansas, and we are infamous for our barbecue. I mean, people do their own style of smoked meats and barbecues all over the United States. So, but I got friends from Texas, North Carolina, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia. I mean, people do their own style of smoked meats and barbecues all over the United States. Look, I took all of them out of the refrigerator this morning. You guys seen the earlier video. They sat here uncovered for a full 10 hours. That's the way it worked out. It's 5:30 a.m. now. So 10 hours after they were rinsed completely, taken out of the brine and rinsed, and then the hams and the wet brine slab of pork belly, right? This is wet brine. It's bigger than the other ones. That's how I kept it, so I wouldn't get confused on which one was wet brine. But the wet brine, after I rinsed them, I soaked them in ice water, right, for 20 minutes, and brought out even more of the brine, the saltiness, right? The dry brine stuff, I just rinsed them. I didn't soak them in water. And of course the ribs, kind of a separate issue. I just wanted to go ahead and do me a slab of ribs this morning while I'm at all this. It just got my Kansas City style dry rub on it. That's it, right? And it's been in the refrigerator for 2 days with a rub on it. So anyway, guys, there's no right or wrong. That's a point I wanted to make. From this point, your temperature, how you want to smoke, the main thing is the internal temp at 150 degrees Fahrenheit will tell you that everything's finished, right? So as far as cook time and how much temperature you use, that's all up to you. You can see my drip trays that were in the refrigerator here, right? Dry racks. So I really like the beer cooler style fridge. It works really, really well. And you can see my drip pans caught most everything. Got a little bit of cleanup to do, but not a lot. All right, so having said that, we are getting dusky dawn. Again, no right or wrong. A lot of guys will tell you that you don't need to do anything to your pork meat after you take it out of the brine, but rinse it and throw it on the smoker. And you can, right? There's no right or wrong in that. But to me, I like to let it set in the open air. Really solidifies the outer layer of the pork, right? Getting the smoke infused early on, because the skin has been allowed to develop a little pinnacle on it. So what I do, and this may be a sin to some guys, I get my smoker hot, right? We're over 350 degrees. We got a hot fire. Now the reason I do that, you know what's going to happen as soon as I open this lid. Temperature's going to drop, right? I've got the damper closed down. I've got a really hot charcoal fire going over here. Haven't got any smoking wood in it yet. Now this is a special charcoal here in Thailand. It's made from a fruit tree. I can't tell you what it is because that would kind of spoil some of my recipe, right? My exclusive Kansas City barbecue recipe over here in Thailand. So anyway, use any charcoal you like. I like the big chunks. So I got really rolling hot. I got a fan over here where I can control, right? So I want that really hot temperature. And what I'm doing is prepping the grill and everything, getting all the grates and everything up to a real hot temperature. Now this side says 300, but it'll get consistent with the other sides. What I found about this big B smoker, it is really consistent. This one was stuck this morning, had a lot of condensation, so I think it's just now kicked on. So we're up around 350, might even get to 400 degrees before I open the lid, and then temperature's going to drop down. When I put the pork on the grill, I'm going to maintain 200 degrees Fahrenheit or under, from 150 to 200. Fine for the whole smoking process. Wood, right? I'll throw that smoking wood, debarked seasoned wood, and that's fruit trees here in Thailand. I can't tell you exactly what I use there either, but you know, standard people use apple, cherry woods, hickory woods, right? Up to you, depending on what region you live in. Here in Thailand, we have more of the tropical fruits, and this is two different styles of tropical fruit tree. Excellent for pork. Not exactly ideal for beef, and I do have hickory pellets that I use for beef. But anyway, that's it, guys. So I like nothing but 100% charcoal, really, really hot, pre-cooked. Now, when I damper this thing down, close all the air off, turn the fan off, and throw a stick of wood in for smoking, and open the lid, I'm going to drop down on temperature, and I'll be able to control it from there. It starts getting too hot, close all the dampers. Oh, you know what I'm saying? And I can keep it under 200, no problem. So I like to start really hot, prep the smoker, and then from there, it's easy to control going down. And not let it get too hot is not a problem, because the charcoal's ashed over now, right? That's what I like. I don't want black charcoal. I want all the smoke to be from the actual fruit wood. So we can just do one stick at a time and let it get rolling with smoke. Another thing is, I took all that stuff out of the refrigerator this morning. You guys know it was uncovered, drying in the refrigerator for 10 hours, right? Now it's sitting out here uncovered, right? What I'm doing is bringing it up to like room temperature. To me, temperature control is so important. So you take ice cold pork bellies and throw them on a 200 degree smoker, you got a rapid conversion, right? I like to bring them out of the fridge so they've been cold the whole time. They were in the brine, really cold. They were out of the brine, really cold. I soaked the wet brine stuff in cold water, right? And then took them out. So they've been cold, cold, cold. Now I'm just bringing them out, letting them sit, and we're about to room temperature, which here in Thailand, it's about 75 degrees Fahrenheit this early morning. So before I put them on the grill, let them warm up a little bit. Let them get that coldness off there, right? So, yeah. All right. Let's see what we can do about putting some piggy on the beef smoker. Shall we? I think we shall. Look at that, guys. 400, 375, right? That's what I want. Now, call me crazy, but what I'm doing is prepping the smoker. Okay, I'm not going to smoke at those temperatures, but I want to start hot. It's easier to go down, easier to control from this point on. I haven't even put a stick of wood in yet. We're just using charcoal at this point. Okay, guys, it's 6:11 a.m. now. We're at that 400 degree temperature. Really, really like a hot smoker. Preps everything, right? We're going to open it up and start feeding it. All right? Now, we want to seal this puppy, and we got enough natural light now. With the sunrise coming soon, I don't really need the headlamp anymore. But anyway, unseal this bad boy, and you know what's going to happen. All right. Now, oh, she smelled good. Now what just happened? That temperature dropped like crazy. I got an internal thermometer here too, and it says 425. Hot, right? Now, do a little clean up here. All this is sanitized, right? Everything is sanitized. 400 degrees, everything's dead, right? Make it here. Get ready for the meat. Don't need that really anymore. Alright. I love this smoker. It's custom made smoker. Custom made by a company up in Culinary here in Thailand. Love it, guys. Got the wider rack on the bottom, alright? We're going to take these pork bellies. I took the skin off because I want to compare this one that was cured in a wet brine compared to the ones that were cured in the dry brine, right? So it's bigger, so I'll be able to know for sure. Scoop that bad boy on up. Alright. Alright. Now, these are all dry brine. Right? These are all dry brine. And this is the one, yes, this is the one I actually left the skin on because I'm not going to use this one for breakfast bacon. I'm going to cut it thick in chunks. And there's a lot of Thai recipes that have the thick chunk bacon with the chicharron, the crispy skin on, right? So check that out. We'll check that out, right? I'm going to put the fat down on that one. And the rest of them have all been skinned. That's just fat. There's no skin on there. All right, all right. Right? Just fat, no skin. If you look at that outer layer, I keep saying the skin pinnacles, but it's not the skin, it's the outer layer. There is no skin, right? You got the meat and the fat. But that outer layer has changed a lot by letting it sit in the refrigerator for 10 hours uncovered after it was rinsed and everything with the brine off of it, right? Makes a big difference, guys. Like I say, there is no right or wrong, but up to you. Okay? That's a lot of that there bacon. Like I say, some of it is not going to be breakfast bacon, right? These are all maple, right? But this one has no maple, it's just the wet brine. But yeah, the one with the fat on it, I'm going to make hot style. There's one tray. Now you can tell my temperature's way back down, right? Because I got it opened up. Now, we have the hams, and bonus is just a slab of spare ribs, right? Full slab, no trimming, no St. Louis cut or anything like that. Just a nice slab of whole spare ribs, okay? With some rub on it. Now here we go with the ham. Again, this is wet brine. Look how dark red the color is of that meat, right? Pork's a white meat. Well, it's got the cure on there now. So hopefully when we get all smoked, we will be actually very pink. Very, very pink. Now, like I said, as far as time, temperature, all that, depends on you. I like to slow smoke. And this smoker is very even. Very even. Now you can see all we've got is a charcoal fire. But the temperature is really cooled back down now. Oh, see, I could even do more. I think I could do a whole pig on this thing. And what do we got? Let's wrap it up, okay? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pork bellies dry brine cured. 1 pork belly wet brine cured. 1, 2, 3 hams wet brine cured. They're not ham yet, they're pork butt, right? And 1 slab of ribs. All Kansas City style, okay? Now, pull this bad boy down. And again, all we've got is charcoal fire. We don't have any smoking wood yet. It'll happen quickly. Right? Oh. Ooh. Breathe. Alright. Let's take a look at this far, shall we? Look at this far. Now I've got the damper control here, right? I had it open just a little bit. Again, we were preheating. Look at that, ashed over, no black charcoal, right? What I can do is simply start with one pretty good size, heavy seasoned fruit wood tree. Okay? Now, all I gotta do, put that baby right in there and watch how she catches on fire. Huh? It's seasoned. There's no reason to soak it in water or anything like that. If it's seasoned and debarked, you're good to go, right? We're just gonna let it catch on fire a little bit, not too much, right? And then we're gonna close her up and let her turn to smoke. I don't really like the black charcoal blended in with the smoke. You know what I'm saying? I want the smoke to be all wood. Go ahead and open her up a little bit. If I can open it all the way. I want to check my smoke, make sure it's clear or blue, what we call blue smoke, right? We don't want any soot. That's why I like to really, charcoal's been in there burning for an hour, right? Big pile of hot charcoals, let them ash over. That way we don't have the black smut coming in with our smoke, right? Blending in. All right, now, she should be good to go to smokeroni. Let's look at the temperature real quick. Now you see, it's come back up to 300, right? And you say, well, that's too hot for smoking. Over here we got 250. I can easily cool it down. You know how? I just closed all the dampers. I just closed everything up. So starting hot, it's going to go down from here, okay? Nothing wrong with starting a little hot. I want that smoke coming. We're starting to get some smokiness now. See what I'm saying? Get you a background on that where you can see, look at that clean, clear smoke. Now, damper it down completely. Let that smoke roll into the chamber. Huh? Temperature will start dropping, guys. I can control that fire. You can also have a spray bottle of water. If your fire isn't going down the way you want it, mist it with water, cool your fire down a little bit. That's the way I like to do it, guys. Stay tuned. Already dropping, guys. You see that? We're down below 250 already. And we got smoke in the chamber. Yeah. And we are dampered down 100%, right? Now, if it don't get down to 200 and lower pretty quick, right? They've only been on there 5 minutes, so we're not overcooking anything, right? Then I can, like I say, mist bottle the fire just a little bit, right? Take a mist spray bottle, but I don't think I'm gonna need to do that because she is on her way down now that she's all dampered close. She got no air, right? Got no air feeding into it, and she's dropping. So I don't mind getting a hot, smoky start, and then we're gonna go down from here, promise you, right? We're gonna be from 150 to 200 the rest of the way, whether it's 5 hours, 6 hours, whatever it is, till we get that 150 degree internal temperature on everything. And some are going to be ready sooner than others. The ribs will probably be ready to go first, right? Stay tuned. Another way you can easily control your temperature, other than, you know, spray bottle on the wood to calm it down a little bit, just pull your hinges, right? You don't have to open it all the way up or anything. Just look at that. Smoke rolling out, right? So we know we're getting good infusion on the meats. So I just unsealed it. That's what I love about an actual wood fire smoker, right? You clamp that sucker down tight and she is sealed, right? So now I've just pulled the clamps, not opened it up or anything. You can see it's releasing some smoke and continuing to drop. See what I'm saying? Now if I lift the lid completely, I'm going to lose some smoke, but I'll also lose a lot of temperature, right? So if I'm concerned, wait a minute, I need to get that temperature down. I mean, they've only been on there 7 minutes, so we're not hurting anything, right? But if I'm real particular about my temperature, all right. Open it up, baby. Open it up. See what I'm saying? To let a whole bunch of heat escape, right? Because we did have the damper open and open down at the firebox, right? So now that I've got all the dampers closed, open the lid for just a bit, back down. Now, it takes a while for the temperature to actually read, which I do like to stick my internal one in there. right? It's back down to nothing, so let's stick that in there. All right, now we got the internal one in there, and it's going to actually read what the temperature will be. So now we need to lock it back down. Completely latched and locked back down. Dampers are closed on the firebox. Dampers are closed on the exhaust. Smoke in the chamber, obviously. Okay guys, I started putting the meat on right at 6:15, 6:30 now, so I'm kind of keeping track of the time for you. Been 15 minutes, damper down, all the firebox closed up, right? Got it all latched and sealed. Smoke's in the chamber, as you can clearly see. And now look, we are dang near under 200. It's, I mean, only been 15 minutes, so I took an internal temperature of the biggest ham, right? And it was at 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Remember, I got them out of the fridge and let them set till about room temperature, right? So even though we started, you know, with a hot fire, you know, around 300 when I first put the meat on there, the meat is really, really cool still, right? So now that we're going down, right, we got it all dampered up and we're getting good smoke infusion, which is the most important thing, especially those first 2 hours. Critical. Lots of smoke. Okay. Okay guys, it is 7:45. We started at 6:15 putting the meat on. So what's that? Hour and a half. Hour and a half. And the old saying, if you open, you ain't smoking, right? The more you open, the less you smoking. So a lot of people might think that I create a lot of work for myself in the early hour, 2 hours of this process of smoking because I start with such a hot fire and I really have to, you know, work to get it where I want it. Look at it now, guys. We are under 200, right? This side a little bit hotter, but I really don't trust that gauge because it stops on me a lot. So let's check the internal gauge, shall we? That'll give us a real good indicator. Look at that smoke. That's the main thing, guys. Complete infusion of that smoke. We got, see, inside we run a 150. See what I'm saying? Now that's right in the center. That's perfect. Now you might ask, do I do a lot of basting? No, because I don't want to do a lot of opening. The less you open, the more you smoking, right? But I have done a lot of basting in the past, and I will glaze these hams towards the very end of the process. Like the last 30 minutes of the hams on here, I will do some honey glaze, right? So anyway, look at that. The ribs are getting just beautiful. Hour and a half, guys. Hour and a half, which to me, the first 2 hours is critical as far as smoke, like the infusion of the smoke while the meat is still real raw, right? But what I do, this smoker is so great, guys. It's got a couple of water pans down below the grill there. So I don't have to baste. Basting basically is just for moisture, right? Now, I use a half apple cider, half water, right? Which, you know, adds a little flavor and you know, gives it that sour, takes away from the salt and the sugar, right? So, you know, basting's okay, but the main thing for basting is moisture. And look at here. A little bit of water. It's going to create some steam. Like I said, it's got those little water pots underneath, which may be kind of hard to see there. There you go, right? So the main thing, you don't really have to worry about basting too much, so you don't have to open too much if you just put a little water in those pans down below. And, you know, you put a little water on the underside of the grill. So let's lock her back down. We're at an hour and a half. I probably will not open it again because we're regulating good temperature, right? We're regulating good temperature just the way I like it. On the next open, I will check some internal temps. I checked early, and like I say, that 84 degrees on the biggest ham internally. So we were definitely slow smoking, despite the hot 300 degree start, right? Easy to control now. Get it all dampered down. Got the door braced because my latch is a little weak, right? Look at there. Chamber full of smoke, right? Now we got moisture. I just added some water to the bottom pans, right? So it's not going to dry out on us. No need to baste. I won't touch it again. Running 200. And now that I've got it closed completely, It's not going to get any hotter. I've been keeping an eye on it. But from here on, the work is easy because I don't have to restart charcoal. We're still on the one stick of wood. And you can see we're getting plenty of smoke, right? That stick is not half burned up, right? So, you know, from here on through maybe 6 hours, sometimes 7 hours, just depends. It's easy. I just get to kick back and relax and watch the smoke, right? Come over here and check temperature every once in a while. Make sure we're not getting too hot. Still just under 200. It's perfect. And the smoke is a rolling. Now it's a little white right now because I added the water, right? So you got the steam mixed in with the smoke. That's the only reason it's that white. But the smoke itself from that fruit tree wood is just clear or blue. But we're going to go ahead and trap that steam. I want to keep that moisture. Yeah, guys, this is the real rough stage of smoking your own ham, bacon, ribs, anything you want, right? I'm going to slice that stuff up, put it in vacuum seal bags, freeze it up. Cured smoked meats keep forever, guys. You can keep it just in the refrigerator for a couple of weeks, not even having to freeze it, right? So you can, but in the freezer, hell, you're good for a year, right? But yeah, that's the rough part. Like my gravity chair. Check it out. I'm keeping an eye on things. I'm working. I'm watching dogs, make sure they're okay, and I'm watching smoke. Damper down. I'm a damper down man. Don't confuse that with a Dapper Dan man. You know George Clooney was a Dapper Dan man in Oh Brother Where Art Thou? One of my favorite there movies. Because I'm a redneck hillbilly that way. I love that movie. Brother Where Art Thou? I'm a Dapper Dan man. Well, I'm a damper down man. Because I like to get the smoke. Nice clean smoke with a little steam in there. I like to get that infused in my piggies. Here, piggy. I wanted to show you another cool thing about this custom beast smoker. It's got a valve that runs off of the bottom tray there where them bowls are, where you can put water or fat or any kind of liquid you want in bowl, right? It's got a exhaust valve off the bottom of it, so that's steam coming out, right? Where I put that water in there. And guys, we haven't opened since, and we don't need to open. Temperature is perfect. Next time I open it, I'll be checking some internal temp and adding a little bit more water to that bottom tray to keep the moisture, right? But the only reason that smoke is as white as it is because when I added that moisture, it wetted that fruit wood a little bit, right? Got a little water on there, on our smoking wood. So that's steam. That is not bad flavor smoke, right? That's clear blue smoke, which is the flavor you want, meaning doesn't add flavor other than the actual fruit wood, right? The flavor of the wood, but no carcinogen type flavor, right? With burning of, soot or anything like that. So we're going to use the same fruit tree wood the whole way. So anyway, see that control I got over that? Everything's dampered down tight. Still get a little leak out of that door, but that's all right. Can't have any complaints about this beast smoker, but isn't that just cool? So that shows you, I've got steam mixed in with the smoke, which saves me from having to open because I don't need to worry about basting. My meat is not drying out. That's obvious. If any of you experts that own amazing barbecue restaurants and smoked meats and all that stuff that might be watching the video and think I'm crazy for starting with such a hot fire, right? My grill was up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit because I wanted to cook all the grills off, make them easy to clean, sanitize everything, right? But when I put the meat on, a closed chamber was reading 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So you might think I'm crazy to put them on at that temperature, but I have easily controlled it to 200 or less the remaining of the time. I just put my second piece of wood on there, so I've only burnt one piece of wood, and I've gotten all kinds of smoke. And my charcoal fire is still really, really hot, right? But you can see it's not automatically lighting that new, fresh, dry, seasoned, debarked fruit wood on there yet. But it will. You see it's starting to smoke now. So I agree with you experts that say starting with a hot fire like that creates a lot of work in the beginning because you got to get that temperature down. So there may be some steps that you have to take, right, to achieve that lower temperature, because the last thing you want to do is smoke at too high a temperature, because then you're baking, right? Guys, trust me, within 30 minutes of putting the meat on at 300 chamber, I was down to 200. I've been down to 150. I've got an internal temperature gauge as well, but I haven't even needed to open it for the last hour. Haven't touched it. I just put another piece of wood on because I seen the smoke was dying down a little bit, right? But our temperature is excellent, guys. Excellent. Look at that. I'm super, super happy, right? So early work, starting with a hard fire, and I will not disagree with any expert that says, why do you put that much work on yourself, right, when you're starting out? Why not just start out at 150 and build, right? Well, cleaning, sanitizing the grill, all that. I want that hot temperature. Open the lid, let that hot temperature out. Give it plenty of time to cool down, right? Put your meat on, right, which has been setting uncovered for 10 hours in refrigeration. All the meat was setting uncovered, developing that outer layer pinnacle, right? So it'll accept the smoke very well early on. So yeah, I agree. It's a lot more work to start hot, and then, you know, that first hour you're like, oh, I can't let it get above 220, you know, right? So yeah, there is a little bit of work, but now, I mean, the rest of the way, I've got that. I don't have to add more charcoal, nothing like that, right? I can save my wood, which is expensive, guys. It's expensive wood, right? So, you know, one stick at a time, charcoal all the way, right? Never have to add new charcoal, right, which starts out black and kind of burns with a little smut until it's ashed over, right? I don't have to do that. I don't want any charcoal smut on my meats. So I hope you can relate. We can all learn from each other. I'm just an old Kansas City boy. Don't claim to be an expert. Never owned a commercial restaurant smoking meats and selling barbecue. I have been in the restaurant business for many, many years as a young man, right? And so I do know a thing or two about cooking. But Kansas City, we grew up smoking every weekend for sure, even through the winter. But a lot of times we cook 4 meals a week outdoors in Kansas City. That's just what we're known for.